All right, guys, welcome to today's podcast, the Local Yokels podcast. I'm Neil Colley, your host, and I want to make sure that I got some of my best guests for the new year. This is our first show of the new year. Welcome to 2025, ladies. This is Miss Sandra Marbry and Miss Billie Wilhite of Feed My Lambs.
Yes.
Local food ministry for the children of the Delta. That's kind of what we focus on. So, Miss Sandy, welcome. Miss Billie, welcome.
Thank you.
Happy New Year, happy holidays, whatever it is that we're into. So we're moving forward. You know what I forgot to do? Put on my glasses.
Okay.
So, hey, before I get started, let's thank one of our guys that y'all know real well is Randy Hendrickson over at Roofworks Roofing Company that helps sponsor the show and also sponsors Feed My Lambs each year that I've been involved. And y'all know the backstory to that, so how he gets involved in what he does for us. So anybody that's looking for roof, you need to fix something, gutters, whatever, you just call these folks. They'll take care of you. They'll get you in the right place, and you can always trust them. Roofworks Roofing Company. So thank you, Randy.
Yes,
appreciate
thank you, Randy.
All right, guys. So let's talk to you today about some of the things that we're focusing on going forward. We'll probably go back and forth over how this thing gets started. So what I'm going to do is start with Miss Billie, and we'll talk about how Feed My Lambs got started, where it's located at, all that good stuff, and how, you become to be essentially an innovator with your daughter and getting this program started, and then we'll work our way forward. So people that's listening that don't know about this, which I'm hoping this is 100% of what we're reaching is people that don't know, so we're getting the word out. So go ahead and talk to us about what it is, what we're trying to work towards.
Okay, Feed My Lambs is a ministry of mine, Memorial United Methodist Church, where we provide weekend meals for children that may be food deficient for the weekend. We provide a breakfast and lunch and snacks for them to take home each Friday from school to feed them over the weekend. And this was begun by my daughter, Jennifer, who worked in food service for DeSoto County schools. And she began to talk to the teachers as she visited the schools and found out that on Monday morning, teachers were identifying children that had not had sufficient food over the weekend. And this was affecting their learning, their behavior. They were tired and not very focused on Monday mornings. So she brought up the idea to the church that we begin this weekend food ministry. She had read about it in other places. And so we said, sure, we'll give it a try. And I think the first year we started out with maybe 5 or 6 children at Walls Elementary School. And through the years, this has grown to 131.
Right now. But it's been as high as 150 or better. So we expect that each year.
Yes. It will increase after the holidays.
By the way, to be clear, we're in DeSoto County, Mississippi. So if anybody's listening that's not aware, they're not local and just don't, I think because the show is called the Local Yokels Podcast, we expect most of our listeners to be from DeSoto County, which I hope they are. But this has a strange reach, so sometimes people will pick up on it from any other place. I've had that comment already that people have clued in. DeSoto County, Mississippi, Walls, Mississippi. We're going to be talking about these little towns and stuff. So just to be clear, that's where we're at.
Okay. What else did I leave out, Sandy?
Oh, you were talking about, I'm sorry to interrupt you, how Jennifer came to the church and said, we're trying to, I want you to tell the elaborate story of that, like the real backstory of how she got, I know she worked at the county and she came to the church and y'all got behind it. You were like,
Yes. Yeah. And well, of course, the first thing we had to do was, how are we going to support this financially? So we figured out what we could do and we just started. She made out a list of what was needed and a plan, and we began to have what we call pack and pray. Every Thursday, we would get together and pack these meals and have them ready to go through the counselors on Friday. One important thing was that we screened the children as to the needs, and the teachers would recommend those children that they saw on Monday morning that needed this help. And the counselors at the schools would contact the parents and talk to them and see if there was a true need, and then they would turn over those names to us.
So going forward, it's just kind of like each year gradually got bigger and bigger.
Yes.
And the demand for resources, whether it be food or money. And another thing is the details about the food. It can't just be canned foods. It's a specific type of food that has to be provided to the children that obviously a 5-year-old can, handle themselves or, put in the microwave or whatever. I'm sure I know that my grandchildren can do that. So as we get into that, Miss Sandy, you can elaborate a little bit more on the needs of that. Talk about how you got involved when you started, and if we gloss over something and we miss it, mention it to me. Like it don't, just pop up and say, "Hey, Neil, what about this?" So go ahead and talk about that, Miss Sandy, as far as the details of what you think, is the specifics and the best foods that people are listening and maybe don't have the means otherwise than just donating a little bit of food. Talk about things you need.
Well, our plan is, and what we do each week is we provide 2 lunch items, 2 breakfast items, and 4 snack items, so 8 items.
Okay.
And we want it to be individually packed, like individual oatmeal packs or cereal packs, granola bars, that sort of thing. And then the lunch items would be mac and cheese or ravioli, but just single serve rather than a big can.
Sure.
That they can pop it in the microwave. And then the snacks, we try to do a fruit, like not fresh fruit, but like peaches or something like that. But we usually think of a fruit and a salty snack, and then maybe a granola bar.
Sure.
And so those individually packed things like that, those are
right.
What we look for.
So if someone has more questions about this, real quickly, just kind of give y'all's information out to how they can reach out to you. I know you guys got your wonderful T-shirts on today that's giving the .coms, but and I thank you, Miss Billie, because I can read off of yours right now. The Feed My Lambs, www.minormemorial.org/lambs. So
yes.
That is the contact.
Yes, that's the contact. And call a church office.
Yeah, what's the church office number?
662-781-1333.
Great.
That's the church
All
office.
right, and just mention the .com again.
Yes.
.org, sorry. Yeah.
Yes, it's www.minormemorial.org. I almost said net. .org/lambs.
Gotcha.
And that takes you directly to the Feed My Lambs page. And, we take donations of food, but we also take donations of money. And there's ways to donate.
Listen, I don't even shy about it. It takes money.
It does.
Bottom line. Yeah. And part of the reason why I know you both is because of the way I got involved. And Miss Billie, wonderful daughter, Miss Jennifer, that passed away, I guess
2 years ago.
Yeah.
Is it 2?
April of 2022.
22.
So it'll be 3 years in April.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I know I just passed my 3rd year of being involved.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So it'd have been about that time. That'd been about right.
We
So
got started right away.
we've had 3 events since then. So
Yes.
it will be 3 years. Yes. However, that's my involvement, and thank her for her idea, and how she is passionate about this. And this has been many, many years ago. We're talking 12, 14, 15 years now.
Mm-hmm.
So, and to get involved, I hate to keep going over the same story, but my mother, Miss Nancy Colley, Fancy Nancy, who got involved she was the liaison at the school, if I remember correctly.
She was.
And I guess she worked with Jennifer at some
Yes.
point in time, involved in, so when she passed, my mother was on the phone one night. I didn't know Jennifer. I didn't know Miss Billie. I didn't know Miss Sandy. I didn't know any of these people. I'm a non-church goer, by the way, folks. So I wasn't really clued in. But my kids went to this elementary school, and my wife taught there, and my mother taught there. I never heard of it. So when my mom was talking about it that night, she's telling the story about this wonderful lady. I don't know what we're going to do now that she's gone, and the program, I'm like, who? What program? I was just all of a sudden caught off guard. So when she elaborated on it a little bit, like I said, I sat there that night, and I'm like, how does that even happen these days? Why have we got kids suffering for food? I mean, I don't go to bed thinking about food. If I do, it's just because I haven't made the effort to go to the kitchen to resource it, So So, but anyway, as I sat there that night, I just had this overwhelming feeling that I needed to get involved. And so I reached out to Miss Sandy and I asked her, I said, what's your biggest issues? And after listening to it a little bit, I figured out, and I knew the church was good because I've had so many good friends that's been there at the church. My kids attended that church when they were young. My mom, however, was belonged to another church locally, but she felt because of your connection with the school, she was involved in many, many ways, especially after she retired. She became a pack and pray.
Yes.
That was her biggest thing on Thursdays. So
on Thursdays, we do that.
Thursdays, she was missing anything other than that. So, however, my involvement was, I found out it was just awareness of trying, and probably was suffering a little bit even when Jennifer was around. She probably didn't have the exact capacity to get as much,
Right.
Because she worked, she's trying to provide for a family and, and just you're limited to what you know and the people you know. So she did a good job of getting certain people involved, and thank her for all these things. And talking about her and my mom, obviously my mom passed away this year. A lot of people that knew her, thank you for all the kind words and stuff, because she was a giver for sure. And this program meant a lot to her. So that's why I got involved. And of course, we have grown this thing, I guess year over year for the last 3 years. It's really kind of jumped into a whole new level. We don't have to sweat it as much, but as food increase costs,
Yes.
even though we're doing so much more, it's kind of like it's just sucking out all this effort because of the corporate greed, I call it, for the food costs going up, because it's literally getting on the point where it's going to get to be doubling pretty soon from where we were at just like 3 years ago on the cost factor. So that tells you where our need for more events. I don't know if I can do that, but certainly, we can implore people to get involved that want to do their own thing. I know last year, the PTA from Walls got involved, started doing their own. Miss Rosetta and Mr. Mike Webb, they both got involved and was trying to push it beyond what we were doing on the outside. They were doing their own little thing at the same time, which is awesome. I thought that was great because they were able to contribute to our program through their efforts. So
That's great.
yeah. So it was awesome. And so if anybody's listening and you want to do your own, feel free. We're happy for any hands on deck to help with this. So whether it be fundraising or for volunteering, just spreading the word, any way you can possibly get involved, we would really appreciate it. And the kids, it goes to the bottom line. That's what I tell people. There's no other program I know of that I'm aware of, and I'm sure there are some, but to where there's not some administrative cost, of some sort. We're having to pay a person to be involved. Nobody gets paid in this program except for the kids get the financial gain of the food resources that we're providing. So the church provides the financial cost of the secretarial, work that has to go involved, like keeping checks and balances on the food and the balance on the money and an account, things like that. So we're fortunate for that part, and thank you, Minor Memorial, for providing that service, because it does cost. I know that lady does a lot of work.
She does.
And y'all can mention her name if you want, if you don't think she
Jane.
might. Yeah,
That
Miss
would be
Jane.
Jane.
Yeah, okay. I don't know. I don't want to just throw it out there, but she's amazing. She's a new addition. Miss Dawn was great too, by the way. They all do great jobs. And
Alicia. She supports us. Mm-hmm.
Yep, she comes in a couple of days a week. So it's a great network of folks in there, and they're all provided by the church. And I know sometimes even after hours, I've reached out to Dawn, and years past, and Miss Jane, she came out and these ladies are putting time in after the job trying to help us with this program too, so because they know it's meaningful and very impactful, and so we thank all of them for their efforts. Yeah,
I think the organization, and this is Sandy, has done this. Well, the people are so organized that we have the people that pack the meals.
Yeah.
But that's only part of it. That only
yeah.
takes us a short period on Thursday. It's the one that buys the food and makes sure that it gets delivered to the church.
Yeah.
The ones that count to see that we've got the right number of bags in each container to go to each school.
Sure. It's bigger than just donating food. Yes,
and then
for sure.
we have a couple that come and pick up those containers and deliver them to the schools.
Yeah.
And then they make sure they pick up other containers and empty containers and bring them back.
Sure.
And all of these are volunteers.
Every bit of it.
Every bit
it's
of it.
100% volunteer. Yes. You even have a local company, and I want to talk about, I don't think they'll mind the billets, right?
Oh, yeah.
So we'll talk about them a little bit. They're an amazing group of folks, man. The whole family's awesome. I got the treat of meeting them this year, and Terry had reached out to me when he found out about the car show, and he's like, "Man, we were already about the program, but like you really like hitting it home. I'm bringing my car." I'm like, "Heck yeah!" So he's got some cool high rides. Him and his boys, or I guess his son, they're really into that right now. But they show up Thursdays to help.
They show up.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I call them Team Billet.
Team
Billet.
Yeah.
Because Trendy and the 5 children show up one day during the week to unload any boxes that have been delivered and stock the carts and pull what we're going to give out that week.
Right.
And that's a tremendous help.
Right. And they don't even go to the church. They're just a local family that is compelled to, for one, they're teaching their children community service, and I want to applaud them for that. I watched them from a distance greatly at this year's event. And I know I'd already talked to them a good bit. Like, they had reached out and communicated with me and was really helping push the program, and I thank them for that. But watching them with their children was amazing, because the basketball team is essentially what they've assembled here, right? So it's hard as a coach to get them to do right. But they're really on top of it. Going out, I applaud them. I mean, they're getting their kids engaged in lots of community activities and like just projects and stuff. So they homeschool them, so they're really good at that. I'm probably one of those guys, if I homeschool a kid, I'm like, here's your stuff. Just catch me when Young and the Restless is over, So I think they're doing way better than that. But thank you to the Billets for all they contribute, because they're one of the people that show up in a youthful group as well. So so any of you families out there that are homeschooling your child and want to get them involved in a program, that would also be very welcomed. You know what I mean? So just reach out to Miss Sandy or Miss Billie. Me, for instance, I'm okay with that too. I'm really just a mouthpiece behind this program, but it's not my program. I always say that my program is because I guess I've owned it in a sense of trying to raise awareness, and but it's way bigger than any of us, and it takes way more than one person. I've got the easiest part of this, I feel, so.
But very
just
crucial.
spreading the word.
We appreciate it so much.
I know you do, and we're not here for that part. So I already know y'all appreciate it. We're here to focus and bring more awareness and talk about the other good people that's involved in this. Some of our great contributors that we've had in the past. It's either with us still or maybe not. We all had a tumultuous year, all 3 of us sitting here. We've lost some very dear loved ones to ourselves, and we and to the community, of course. I mean, we certainly with my mom, Miss Nancy Colley, for you that don't know, I mentioned she was a liaison at the school, and man, she just lived for this program. She lived for the children, and I know that Miss Betty Spinner that took her place was also her best friend. You know what I mean? Like one of them, and so she became the new liaison after my mom left, and she's still a trooper out there every day. I talked to her a while back. I'm like, Betty, what's going to happen? Have you got a replacement in mind when you retire? She goes, I don't, Neil, but I know there's somebody, So we're looking for that too. We're all an aging group of folks that are really diehard invest in this. So we need some people that want to get involved. I mean, you can be as young as, whatever. As long as you can drive a car, you can probably be involved in it to someone. But we're looking for people to be involved, to kind of carry on and contribute to this. I know we got, you mentioned earlier about the liaison at Lake Cormorant.
Yes.
Yeah. You want to talk about her a little bit?
Yes. The counselor at Lake Cormorant Elementary, they've just conducted a food drive for Feed My Lambs, with foods that are appropriate for Feed My Lambs. And they have done that every year. And some years Walls does that as well.
Sure.
In fact, I don't guess we've mentioned, but the 2 schools that we service, one is Lake Cormorant Elementary and the other is Walls Elementary.
Correct.
And but they all, even when your mom, even before she retired, she would have like a bake sale.
Sure.
And they've contributed money that way.
See, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
I mean, I tells you, I'm still learning about her involvement and everything. So
and it was a couple of years, before she retired. She's always been a big supporter of Feed My Lambs. But yes, so I know that Lake Cormorant's done the food drive, and they'll be delivering some food to us soon. And we have there's a charity, the Mikai of the Psi Beta Zeta, that do for Feed My Lambs twice a year. Now this group is a group of women that their whole purpose is service.
Sure.
And we're one of the groups they've adopted, one of the ministries that they've adopted, and they never, forget us. And they've just recently donated some food items for us. And great contact through the Samaritans. Ed Flynn, who kind of spearheads that in Horn Lake, if he has foods that are not really appropriate for the families, but a lot of single serves. And he doesn't want it to go to waste, and he knows there's a need.
You just mentioned earlier about, like, the Go-Gurts.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he's got 8 cases of Go-Gurts coming our way.
Yeah, that's good. And then, like, we have the individual servings of mac and cheese that somebody provided.
Yes. Mackenzie Gray Properties in Hernando. That's Hannah Hernandez. She's a local builder, and that's her company. Yeah. And 1,400 boxes of individual mac and cheese.
That's a lot of mac and cheese.
I like it. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I always thought, like, 1,400 boxes. Like, that's like 2 months worth of eating for me. Maybe, you know what I mean? Like, no, I'm just joking.
Well, it was crazy because
but that's a lot. But that was like way better than money, because then like you don't have to go shop for it.
Right.
The cost is probably a wholesale cost for them, So, but it was a way better contribution because it eliminated. Yeah, like in a way, like we would love that more than money in some cases, because it's like it eliminates having to shop for it, putting the feet on the ground, and doing that. Which, by the way, I want you to mention some of the ladies that do that for y'all.
Yes.
Like, so let's don't let them forget about the people that's really involved at that level. Miss Billie mentioned about the getting it there, getting accounts right, making sure we're organizing. Right. So talk about some of these folks that are involved.
Okay. Well, LaWanna Beasley has been our shopper for about 3 years. And, of course, she brought more smarts to it, I think, because she does online.
Sure.
And has it
so she went from
church.
Stop getting out of the car and going and shopping. Like my mom was that person. Like she would be trying to hit Dollar General, Walmart, whatever it may be.
I would be at Sam's.
Sure. Trying to get it in bulk. We just don't know. Yeah. There's just smarter ways to do it.
And so LaWanna has brought that to a new level, and she can send me, what's coming. And then Trendy, if there's any gaps, Trendy Billet helps.
Awesome.
And so LaWanna keeps in touch with me and Trendy to let us know what's coming.
Good.
In fact, today I'll probably go by the church just to make sure there's not a delivery sitting out there because the church is closed today.
Yeah.
But anyway, so LaWanna Beasley, thanks for the great job, and Trendy for filling in. Yeah. And we have a group of about usually 14 people. They don't come every week, but that come to help with Pack and Pray.
Right, that's awesome.
And then Randy and Carla Lance. Actually, Carla will say it's Randy that's the volunteer, but she helps him. And that is a couple that do go to our church. But they've been our delivery people for the last couple of years.
Yeah,
and
you got
that's
to
a
have
job.
that. Yeah,
you
got to get it from A to Z.
It's a job. Because when we pack it, we have, right now we're at 7 totes for Walls and 3 totes for Lake Cormorant. So that's 7 totes that he's got to, hustle that down to the schools.
Sure.
Does a great job.
And then, of course, it gets in the hands of Miss Betty, and then she's got to learn to distribute it and get with the teachers as far as like good timing. And I know they've got their process worked out. Miss Guns, that's what she told me she was referred to.
Miss Guns is good. She says you can call me Kaylin G. But Miss Guns.
Yeah,
is
she
good.
told me, and she's so sweet. So she's a really another one that's going way beyond her
calling.
And
we have to remember that when we finish each day, we recycle all that paper and cardboard. We break it down, and Randy makes sure it gets to some place where for the cardboard.
Right. So there's always this ongoing trying to give, in some capacity. So, and I love that about both of you. So thank you.
And it's hard too. LaWanna really shops. It's hard to find healthy, fast food. It really is. And she does a good job of looking for healthy foods.
Sure. And it is tough because it's all got to have preservatives at that point in order for it to be kind of, peel top stuff. You know, you mentioned about the peaches earlier. I remember when they first kind of come out, my kids were little in school, beyond the cans, they were in like the little plastic containers. You peel them, safe, I guess, from that standpoint. That was a cool thing because I could just like put it in their lunches and stuff and not have to worry about them. So that's definitely probably got sugars and stuff we don't, but it's better than nothing.
Yes.
And that's kind of where the problem is. Like when we talk about this, I want to get back on the focus of like, we talk about all we do and what we're trying to get about. But the real focus is on these beautiful young children that they literally they have no choice who they're born to.
Right.
You know, it's not always a poor child either, by the way.
Right.
It sometimes is just, you can have an amazing house, some parents that have great jobs, but you're not getting the attention you need because the parents are so focused in one direction. Maybe they're not getting the right things in the house, you know. Maybe they're a fast food parent, so like the only time they're thinking about food is when they drop by McDonald's or whatever. I understand all that. I'm not saying that. So the kids, we can't see beyond the child, so we can't control who they're born to. A lot of it is just need in general, financial, of course, you know, especially now as times have gotten worse in the last year as far as economical for the cost increase in food across the board, everything, you know.
Everything.
Wages are not growing, so it's harder and harder. I know that, but just to know when you're helping a child. You're not helping the parent, you know. So you got to get that out of your head, you know.
And you don't always know the home situation, like you say, and sometimes there's no adult in charge in that home on the weekend.
Sure. Mom's working 2 jobs, or she's out living her best life. All of a sudden, she's single, and I mean, I'm not even saying that's a mom; it could be a dad. So let me don't hit the ladies too hard here. but as parents, like, you know, they may be trying their best, but they're just not good at what they're doing. You know, so I don't want to take away from that. And just, you know, but it's really about the kids. So like, they may even show up with snack money at school. So that's what I always say, because I've had a couple of teachers go, well, they got money for snacks. Hey, look, it's not about that. Well, we're talking about the weekend food. It's easy to give a child money to go get food when they're in a place where they can resource it. Like, they can buy it at school. They can't buy it from their house if they can't drive a car, for God's sakes, or go somewhere. And they're, like you said, they're unattended, or we don't know the whole dynamics of this. So let's don't pass judgment. There's obviously a need that's been identified, you know, through the counselor or the teachers. So we need to focus on the child and get our ideas and our judgment out of our heads, because it's really focused on the children. So let's say we miss on all 150 kids except for one. We feed one child that really needs it. That's worth every penny we're doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
So when I hear those stories, and we do have some people involved at that school level that feel like this is not necessarily, you know, the best of programs to get involved with, hey, then just don't be a part of it. But keep your opinions to yourself. That's what I say. Maybe I'm being a little gruff, but I know of one example, and I was really disappointed in it, and it hurt my mother to the core when she heard about it. And for that, I'm just like, please don't see it that way. Look at it from a standpoint of just it's a child. So we need to focus more on not just our program, but as a community, we need to get more involved in helping others. I know as I've been doing this, I've been finding out about these amazing programs. They're existing all over the place that they have similar issues. You know, it's not called Feed My Lambs, but it might be something else in Hernando, Horn Lake. Obviously, there's places. You wouldn't think that'd be an issue in Hernando, but they still have a thing. You know, I think any school probably has a few children that are going, you know, getting looked over, or maybe not getting the attention they need at home, food security wise anyway. So, and I would say, you mentioned earlier, Miss Billie, about if they're not fed well, they can't learn.
They can't.
They don't know how to listen. They don't know how to communicate. You know, it's not that they can't. It's just they're not at their full capacity of learning, and we're trying to train our future here. You know, I mean, so we got to take care of them. You know, you as a teacher for many years, and I've learned through our relationship, because I didn't grow up in the area, so I didn't know Miss Billie is Miss Billie from the teaching world, but like everybody that I meet, they're like, she was my teacher. And so you know, you've had like a couple of thousand students, I'm sure, through the years, if not more.
I run into them every now and then.
Yeah. And I've had a couple of guests on, like, where are you from? And I'm like, yeah. Do you know Miss Billie? I'm like, yes, I know Miss Billie. She was my teacher. So, yeah, Chris Camp, who interviewed us originally on this, Motivated Coach Camp, shout out to him. And I think Robin Bosworth.
Maybe so.
She told me, she wrote down a name, and I'll have to remember. I have to go back and see, but she's with the Genesis program.
Okay.
And I did that. Yeah. And we did a podcast with them a while back about Mary Genesis, and she's from Walls, and she knew Chris. She's a little bit older than him, and I think she was closer to your daughter's age, Miss Barbara. Your daughter. Yeah. Yeah. So we had talked about all that, and I explained all that, and we it's just a small world. It really is, So thank you for your kind service in those days, not only what you do now, but there is a really historical fact with Miss Billie here with the community.
I'm afraid so.
Yeah. So, where did you start teaching at, Miss Billie?
I started teaching at Horn Lake High School.
Okay.
Well, while I was finished college, I taught one semester at Walls Middle School.
Middle school.
7th and 8th grade.
Where was Walls Middle School?
Where Walls Elementary is now.
Oh, it was a middle school then.
It was a middle school.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Well, it was elementary up to about the 8th grade.
Okay.
But then I graduated from college at the age of 36, and I began teaching at Horn Lake High School.
Nice.
I taught child development and parenthood education.
So it was a later in life decision at that.
No, it was a lifetime, but I had to go to college in between children of my own.
True. Yeah, okay. So you're working towards this goal.
Yes, my mother said, "You've got to finish college." So I did what my mother wanted me to do.
Yeah.
And my husband said, "You're going to work now."
Yeah. Now you're going to work. So, but now you've touched so many lives through those years.
I have.
Yeah.
My husband and I he volunteered on the Walls Ambulance Service.
Yeah.
He began that, and then after I retired from teaching, I became involved with the DeSoto Health and Wellness Center, which was medical care for uninsured people.
Sure.
And I did that for about 10 years.
It's amazing.
So it's just.
So you're community service oriented. I mean, everything.
I think so.
It's just
I'm
in your blood.
tired.
I know. Well, if you would like to, I don't want to mention your age. We were just talking about this before we got on air.
Oh,
but,
God. Well.
But I think it's wonderful.
Well.
Because you're a real, I hope at your age I'm still like you. You know what I mean?
I don't mind telling my age. I'll be 84 next month.
Nice.
And I want to keep going as long as I can.
Well, man, I first of all, when I come into the new studio, by the way, we're at the SRP Studios in Hernando, Mississippi, with Derek Michaud. And thank you for having us today. But with our new studio, this is the first one I've ever done in here. This is a new location for us. And I got in here and the stairs, I looked up and I go, I don't even want to climb those stairs. So I was thinking, okay, Miss Billie and Sandy are coming. And I mean,
No, I live in a 2-story house.
Yeah, I know, but I'm still.
That's what makes me young.
Okay, that's probably what it is. You're just built up. So, but anyway, point being is obviously you both are doing quite well, and I'm very thankful for that. And but we don't need to take that all for granted because we all know from my mother things can happen out of the blue. Yeah. She also was living and going and blowing and all that stuff, and it happened to her out of the blue.
Yes,
so we just want to be thankful. And that's why I implore people to get involved. These ladies, as bad as I hate to admit it, are not going to be around forever. Although I hope you live to be 130. You know what I mean? So,
I don't think I could take it.
Yeah. So I think that you guys are doing great. But I feel like we're all taking you for granted a little bit, that you're going to be around forever. And I don't think we need to do that anymore. So we need more volunteers. Miss Trendy, by the way, has helped out a lot. She's very youthful and energetic. With 5 kids, I don't know how she does it.
I don't either.
Like her, she's like on 10 all the time, So they do a great job, and we need more of those folks, And
Trendy's always been involved. We had a bake sale, probably it was in 2017 when we had this idea about doing a bake shop.
Yeah.
And that's when I met Trendy.
Yeah.
And it was crazy. And I said, here's Trendy, would come through the back door of the kitchen like an angel with chef's, chess squares for us.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
And that's how I first met her. I said she was this angel that walks through the door helping. Helping.
And that's what it takes. It takes a real community to make things like this work. So we're just trying to bring more awareness. And I don't care if you're listening to this and you live in Wisconsin or in Coldwater. It doesn't matter. Like, we're just looking for support in any capacity. And I always say that, whether it just be spreading the word, talking about it, financial, food, whatever. We take it in any way we can get it. So, because it's that important to me. And as we grow this, we can also show, I know we've talked about this at different things. People always ask about, well, have y'all thought about expanding? I'm like, no. Like, I kind of came up with that stupid question myself when I first got involved. And Cindy's like, Neil, we are running on max. But I think what we're trying to say is, when people say that, is like with this idea of other places. Well, as you mentioned before, your daughter wasn't a trendsetter in this. Like she knew these programs existed in other places.
Yes.
So she learned about it from someone else's example. So with this, we're trying to teach, maybe in your community, you can start something similar, because I can promise you there's a need. Absolutely. I am one that, I admit this, like I said, my children went there, my wife taught there, my mother taught there, and my mother was involved in everything. And I didn't know about it. For, the whole time it existed, I had no clue because I wasn't paying attention. Most likely you don't know about it because it's usually because of separation of church and state. It's not mentioned at a high level at the school that it's coming from a local church, or something of that nature. And I'm not affiliated with the church either. So I didn't know. So I think because I wasn't on either end of it involved, nobody's talking about it. So that's why I said, well, look, they're just missing two things, awareness and money. So, and if we get awareness, the money will come to help support the program. And I think we've shown that in the last few years that really works well. And we don't have to dig so deep in our own pockets each time because it's, I think that even the church struggled at times. Well, not struggle, but, it takes away from other programs trying to fulfill the need there, as long as we keep it going on. And I know, of course, you just kind of ran it from a standpoint of like, well, when the money runs out, we just can't do it, but we don't want that to happen,
It'll be there.
Yeah, I think so.
We've been blessed. I mean, because this is we are completing our 13th year right now. It's wonderful.
And I think at the time when I did get involved, it was critical, not for me personally getting involved, but from a standpoint of someone showing up to fundraise and try to drive some revenue, because it was getting exponentially more cost and, oriented, way more than what we expected just in the last couple of years. So as we're doubling down, we needed that, as far as the extra revenue. So.
Absolutely.
I think it's important too, people out there in other areas, you can do this. And we have a youth pastor who has moved on to Central Mississippi, and he is trying to start the same program in his community.
Great story.
So it's something that you can do.
You want to mention his name?
Magoo.
Ryan.
Shout out to Ryan Magoo. Yeah.
Ryan Magoo.
So he's trying to start something local in his new world of his new hometown, which is amazing. See, that's a great story because, you're passing it on. You're figuring out a new way. And I bet you, especially here in Mississippi, I mean, there's probably, there ain't no telling how many places need this. We're in probably one of the richest counties in the state. And there's no doubt there's a lack of, there's no lack of resources here. And we got some great sponsors this year and great individuals too. I don't want to overlook that because that's hugely important, but it's hard to name them all. But some of our businesses that stepped up this year that we had never seen, before, that finally understood the importance of it. And they showed up with their checkbooks, personally showed up, by the way,
yes.
And I appreciate all those folks that did that. It'd take me 2 hours to probably sit and name them all off because we had so many, but thankfully. So we can't do it without them. But that goes back to the smaller areas like Mr. Magoo's going to do. There may not be that much, there probably isn't all that availability for them to look out, to reach out to a local businessman that has more than he needs. And he's just looking for somewhere to help. I ran into, multiple places just that are real close in our community this year that I'm just getting around to because there's only me. You know what I mean? Like I'm the phone calls. I'm just thinking about constantly reaching out. Now they're like, I didn't know that existed. I'm like, dude, you're literally 100 yards from the school. Well, I'm just telling you, I didn't know, Neil. And I said, well, you do now. He goes, yeah, and I'm going to be a part of it. Because so that's where I'm talking about, like just getting the word out, spreading it, pushing it. I know Horn Lake has a similar community, and it could be that those ladies that you're talking about that are helping you, I think they do something there too. Could be possibility. I know the Dream Center does some stuff similar to what we do with the Horn Lake, and I don't want to I'm here. The whole part is supporting everybody. So I'm here to talk about their all nonprofits, charities that are trying to work towards. We're trying to spotlight that in the community a little bit to know local's important, staying local, spending local. Somehow it trickles back around to our children, So with that, anything, Miss Billie, you can think of that we got going on in 2025 that maybe we're not talking about that?
I don't know. I haven't had time to think about it yet.
Yeah. And I want to touch on this a little bit. As I mentioned earlier, we have all three experienced a great loss in our life in this past year. And Miss Billie, I don't know if you want to touch base on a little bit about your beautiful daughter, Miss Barbara.
Barbara.
Yeah.
Barbara passed away right before Thanksgiving, and came to visit and help me with our fall festival at church. And we cooked all week long, and we didn't argue with one another, and we just had a good time. But she never went home. She never went home. She had a diabetic problem and ended up
I'm truly
passing
sorry
away.
for your loss. I am.
So.
And I know that she was probably an amazing, I didn't know her, but I'm sure she was an amazing person if she belonged
was
to you.
also a giver in Texas.
She was doing something.
Oh, all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah. So I'm sorry for your loss. Again, we have this trauma bond, I guess, between us all, like this past year, with losing Mom and then, of course, Miss Sandy. Literally, I think the day after my mom passed.
1 week.
1 week.
Your mother died July 4th, and my sister died July 11th.
Oh, man. Yeah. And
It's just tough.
it's like, wow, like how much more can happen, you know?
And they were both unexpected.
Yeah.
Barbara's was unexpected.
That's why I say, like, don't, I think, I'm 52. I will be here pretty soon, and I'm just trying to get to, like, tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like, and I look at y'all as, I mean, honestly, it's crazy as you grow up, when you're 18, 30s old. You remember this, right?
Oh, yeah, ancient.
So then when you're 30, like, 50's not so far. You know what I mean? It's not that bad.
I couldn't think beyond 30.
Yeah. So now at 50, I'm like, 70's so young. You know what I mean? Because I'm just trying to get there, like it's the way a mindset is. But it's not a given, and we're fortunate, especially if you outlived the average life expectancy, Miss Billie. You're doing amazing. And my neighbor is like 96 years old, and she is amazing. Miss Martha Wing. And,
I know Martha.
You do?
Yes.
Yeah, and I love her.
Yes.
And her and her daughter KK and Trisha, man, they're in their mid 70s. Like and she goes, well, my girls, they're probably about to. No, Miss Martha. I mean, when I first met her, I was like, she was looking at me like her son, and I just got tickled at it, when really my parents were like her kids' age, and but they all loved her, but she's doing so good, and but it shows me that she has this desire to live. So when I talk to her a lot. She's got this great desire to live, also community-minded, within her church community. And I always say, she goes, well, you don't go to church, Neil. And I said, no, but I got other ways I want to help. I don't mind helping your church. I mean, that's not it. It's just for me. I'm not there. So this is my way of giving back. So you don't have to be a believer or a churchgoer or have some kind of association with it. These ladies were open-armed, welcoming to me. Not only them, but your pastor. He has to have some approval. If not all the approval for my involvement, and others that want to get involved. It's not, they don't judge over there at this particular church. I vetted it very well when I went in, and I had questions about a lot of things. And, of course, like, is the money going to the right place and things like that? Because, there's lots of scams. I can assure you this is not one of them. So they're very open-minded. They're very welcoming. There's no pressure to start joining. There's none of that stuff. So if you want to get involved with Feed My Lambs especially, you can feel it's a safe program, that every penny of what you're putting in and time is going to the right place.
It does. Yeah. And something that, people may not realize is this is not even a budget item for the church. This is completely funded by donations and completely manned by volunteers.
100%. Everything. I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's such a unique format. And I know at times the church has stepped in more often than not before I got here with the help of my wonderful family and a group of friends that help provide the funds that we have been able to bring to the bottom line. But I think before that, the church was having to step in quite often to help support it, and I know that they didn't mind, but it takes away from other things that they're trying to focus on, and because they only got so many resources. And to mention something else, I know that's special to you guys is obviously the blessing box that you put out front recently. I mentioned it at one of my podcasts here a while back, but talk about that a little bit as you're in the community of DeSoto County or Walls.
Okay. Well, just within the last couple of months, we've put the blessings box out, and that's where if you have items to donate, food items, canned goods, it's take what you need or leave what you can. That's another completely just volunteer thing.
Yeah, and it's private. Like they don't got a camera on the box or anything.
No,
And
just drop by.
Yeah, it's a very
Just drop by.
honor policy.
Yes.
Just take what you need, put back what like
Right.
if you want to give a little bit, put something in there as well, canned foods, whatever.
Or personal items.
Sure.
And it's so new, we don't really have the signage on it
Sure.
yet, but Pastor Sam's working on that,
Yeah.
where we'll have the signage. But it's private. It's kind of like a drive-through thing. And, so some
Yeah, you don't even have to get out of your car.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yes.
Yeah. It's amazingly set up. I noticed it the other day. It's over on the Walls Water Department side, next to them. Yeah. That's a great program. I know that one that Pastor Sam's really close to is the Golden
Cross.
program. Now explain to everybody what that's about.
Now that one, I've been a member of Minor since 2012, and that precedes me. I mean, I don't know how long. You probably know more about Golden Cross.
Golden Cross is where people contribute funds. Primarily when we have Communion Sunday, they leave money on the altar, and it goes to Golden Cross. And that's for any need in the community. If someone comes to the church and maybe needs gas money,
Sure, to get to
grocery
work.
money, yes,
Yeah.
we will take them to get gas or help find them shelter for overnight. But the Golden Cross is to help in the community.
Emergency situations.
Right.
Yeah,
Emergency.
that can help them get to maybe the next stopping point for them, whether it be gas, like you said, or food, or a place to stay. Because,
Right.
I know House of Grace is a big deal. I need to reach out to those folks. I would love to get them.
Well, they
on.
are primarily for abusive situations.
Yes, but again, in an emergency, maybe before she can get in there, maybe she reaches out to you to help get her in a hotel to get away from the situation for the night or something until she can get to them.
And sometimes we have to reach out to other facilities, like we have had to reach out to Brown Missionary Baptist,
Right.
because we had someone that needed shelter overnight, and we couldn't provide it.
Right.
So there's a community effort. There's connection there between all the different people who are serving.
Sure.
And it's important to know that.
Right. And I wish there was more. I was trying to reach out more, and I asked Sandy about this too, like with our Feed My Lambs program, getting more other programs, churches, whatever involved. Sometimes it's tough because in some cases they want their own recognition for what they're doing.
Right.
And I get that a little bit because, you're trying to do good for your community in your little area. So, but it's important as a community we join hands and try to work together trying to accomplish these goals of helping our local people, especially our children, and our less fortunate. So it's awesome that y'all have that program involved and you got connections with other programs to where you can take care of things. So I'm sure they pick up the phone and, hey, we don't have the ability to help them. Can y'all, and then they go, absolutely. And then, so this is like touching so many people's lives just because in the background noise of day-to-day life and all of us driving to work and, and running in and out of the stores, we don't think about these programs that are essential in our community, which thank you for being a part of, because I'm just getting started, I guess, in the last few years. I mean, I've always kind of been a person interested in helping, but I don't know what or how or where to get involved. And, you try to individually help somebody. That's great, But as a group, you can do more a lot of times and reach more people. So it's important to get a good community around you. And I think we're working towards that greatly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I personally think that 2025 is going to be a great year. I'm still focused on our big event that we do in the fall. Most likely going to push it to October this year. I've been thinking about that a couple of weeks before. I probably need to nail that time down with y'all now so that we to where we can have the church's facilities to do a big parking lot and all that stuff. But what I'm trying to do is, seems to be the time we've been doing it's been like a time when everybody's doing everything, like
It was,
yeah. So it's and I know why, because the weather's better, it's not as hot, all that stuff. But maybe up until like the second week of October, possibly might be a better time for all of us and get away from the heat just a little bit, just a couple of degrees.
People keep asking me, when y'all have that good barbecue?
Yeah. Look, man, that is awesome, but I'm not the cook. I want to be clear. So, I'm just
Randy.
Yeah, that'd be Randy. I'm just a promoter. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of coordinate things. Well, as Sandy says, I don't know how I do it sometimes, but it just comes together, and I guess I get annoying to others as we're leading up to it. But I just think that I got to just make sure everything's right, because this year was really a big deal. We had a lot of folks out there, and it could have been much bigger. The weather was a little bit restraining on us. Thank goodness, just for a little while, the clouds did not dump water on us for during the time. But right at the end, it started coming, and so we were ready to get out of there. But however, the plan is, even if that all gets to the wayside, we still have a great event. If, like, some reason it gets rained out or it's just so ungodly hot, nobody wants to go out there. But typically, if we're out there, people come. Like, even if you just come and buy some food from the program the day of, that's hugely important. So, like, to know that we're out there. And this year with the Montage guys that we included, I'm going to have them on here pretty soon. They were a big part of it, so we offered different foods opposed to just pork. We obviously offered chicken products and beef products through them, Polynesian barbecue. And I think they wound up giving us about what they made that day for a donation towards the program. So they're a very generous family that's involved. So we'll talk about more of that when they get involved. But so we are on track for that. I don't know where things are going to lead to, maybe spring having a barbecue, or something. I'm not sure yet. So we're working on that. But we'll just have to see how it goes. And is there anything y'all would like to say to the people that may be listening on like some advice on how to giving back, or maybe a point of view that maybe they're not seeing from y'all's standpoint?
Well, one thing that I want to say is, don't let age hold you back. It's like, we were just laughing yesterday. I was with Billie. I says, well, I can't ever pull the age card because Billie's a little older than I am, so I can never pull the age card. But so many times seniors will think, well, I've done my thing and I'm through doing my thing. I've already done it while I'm young. Well, don't ever have that attitude, to keep on going.
It probably keeps you going.
It does keep. It's great. It's great.
And you get this this great group of friends that you become friends with that you didn't know for your whole life, and all of a sudden you're like, I just love her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well,
that you've just met in the last few years, and you're like, I find that intriguing myself. Like, you think when you're young, like, oh, this is my best friend. I've known him since I was 5. You're going to meet so many more important people, most likely, in your latter years. It's amazing, really, how you meet people along the way. Like you both are recent in my life, and I'm very thankful for your friendship and everything. And I don't have it's just amazing to me, And then I look at y'all, and y'all are such an example of, like, just getting out and moving and keeping it moving, and everything you do is in a direction of helping back in the community. It's like your focus is that. So
I went through a period of not knowing exactly what I needed to do.
Sure.
My helping is a very spiritual thing, and I said, Lord, I don't know what I need to be doing.
Yeah.
And I finally had to reach a point where, when I get up each morning, whatever the day offers,
right,
what the people I need to serve or the events or whatever will happen this day, and just accept whatever comes.
Sure.
Just be available.
Sure.
Be available.
Be open.
Open.
And look at it as like it's just a way of just continuing life. Like your life, their life, everybody involved with, and try to be humble and kind to everybody. That's what I always tell people. And we're gonna have our bad days, and we're ignorant, and we're angry, and we all go through that. It's hard to, like, things just don't always go our way.
Right.
You just always try to I try to find a silver lining. Yeah. So I always try to find some kind of a learning lesson from that. Education costs. It does. And it's not always through a school. It can be just life is throwing us some nice little lessons all the time. So one of the lessons that I'm taught is no matter how bad I got it, there's so much worse out there,
Absolutely.
Like someone's always in a worse situation. On my worst day, I'm not in bad situation. You know what I mean? And I'm not talking about money either, by the way. I'm thinking about just overall being wealthy from a standpoint of family and friends.
We are blessed people.
Yes, very much.
Thankful.
And even some of the ones that we think are blessed are not necessarily because it's not a happy place for them, or they don't have the people involved to help them get over the hump. So community service, and I don't know if I realized this until the last decade or so, is so important. I think that I watched my mom and my dad were both givers. I probably didn't pay as much attention as I should have, And I've had a few folks that have, they lean on the churches that I've had my, say, well, I just give to the church, they do something. That's great too. You know what I mean? That's obviously too. But getting involved and having your mind focused on that when you get the opportunity, because I understand that, like, you know, raising a family and trying to focus on work and a career is highly important. And it may take you a while to get to a point to where you're able to focus on, like you said, Miss Billie, when you wake up, where do I go today and how do I help? Well, when you were teaching, you know, you had these set parameters of times every day. You're looking at like probably 100 faces a day, literally different ones. And you're like probably very observant, obviously, of their individualism, where they may be in their lives. You're like, something's going on with,
Right.
you know, with that person that I worry for, you know. And not all of us have that, but you probably were a little early on able to develop that just because teachers are so important to the community of being able to recognize individualism, you know. Whereas me, I'm at the Walmart and I'm like, look at that punk kid, you know. Like, so I've tried to get past that and see that they're just a kid, you know.
Yeah.
And so teaching them young and we were going to have the Demolay boys on. They're doing that. It's a mentor program to teach young men how to be community oriented from an early age. And that's highly important. So any of those programs you want to get involved with, it's great. All again, just trying to promote local nonprofits and charities and how to give back. That's kind of what this program's all about. So I want to thank you all for everything you do. I want to tell people once again how to get in touch with Feeding My Lambs. Would you do us a favor, Miss Sandy?
Okay.
Yeah.
So through the website, www.minormemorial.org/lambs, or you can call the church office, which is 662-781-1333. Or if you just have to speak to me, you can contact me at smarbry@comcast.net.
Yeah, Marbry, Marbry.
Yes,
Yeah,
Marbry
yeah.
at Comcast. And I'd be glad to talk to you or answer any questions, and just appreciate any support that we can get.
Sure.
And, you know, everybody can make a difference.
That's right.
Yeah, because you guys make a huge difference. So, yeah. Miss Billie, on you now to next. How do you want to close out the show?
Just think of all the ways that you can, just think about how blessed you are.
Mm-hmm.
We have so much to be thankful for in this country. We just look at the world and just shake our heads at what's going on. But wherever you are, there are ways that you can give back because you have been given so much and are so fortunate. And take that opportunity to give back.
Sure.
Don't just sit there. Get up and do something.
Do something. Yeah. Yeah. Even if it's just like taking the trash out.
Yes.
Yeah, just move.
Just move.
And then eventually you may move over to your neighbors to help them with something. And then it gets involved in your local community school or something. Mm-hmm. So it's amazing how we can. And look, not everybody's built for this. We know that. So, like, don't feel the pressures. That's the one thing I say is, like, when you do this, do it from a good place.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Because if you feel burdened by it, it's not going to be good for you. So the place is find a spot or a place or a program that you feel good with. Like it really does your heart good to be a part of it. It don't have to be ours. That's not it. No, we would love you to be a part of it, but we understand everybody has their place they want to be involved in. So just any capacity, just be a part of your community and try to help, you know. And with that, we'll close out today. And I want to thank everybody for joining the Local Yokels podcast. And I want you to join you next. I want us to all be always focused on our local community stuff. That's what I say. And we're in this program as we're going forward for the new year. Just think about how we can continue to focus on our local stuff. So, and as we go forward, I want to thank again Roofworks, Randy, all those folks. You can find us on Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook. We're all under the same moniker. Instagram, the Local Yokels Podcast. And please rate, like, subscribe. Subscribes are really important, by the way. Come to find out, they're telling me. I want to thank SRP Studios, and you can always email us at Local Yokels Podcast, the Local Yokels Podcast @gmail.com. Next time, I'll see y'all around. Bye.